one of those little shifts that happens quietly while everything stays mostly the same. No, what is building around you feels like a threshold moment, a crossing, a night where something locks into place, and after that, the old version of your life cannot continue in quite the same way. Wheel of Fortune, and wow, this is huge because this is movement fate. A turn in the road, a cycle ending while another one begins with real force behind it. Spirit is showing me that tonight carries momentum, not necessarily that every visible event explodes in one instant, but that the wheel starts turning in a way that cannot be stopped. Doors begin opening. Timelines begin shifting, delays begin loosening, and once that movement starts, you are not going back to who you were before. I feel some of you have been sitting in a strange in-between space for a while, not fully in the old chapter, not yet anchored into the new one either. Maybe you have felt restless, maybe you have felt emotionally stretched. Maybe you have had this inner sense that something is coming, but you could not quite name it. Spirit is saying that feeling was real. You were sensing the pressure of change before the evidence arrived. The next card I'm seeing is the Tower. And yes, that is exactly why this reading feels so intense, because the Tower is not polite. It is truth-driven. Sudden awareness. Structures falling that were never meant to hold you forever. So I do feel there may be something very unexpected around this transition. A realization, a message, a release, a decision, a truth you can no longer ignore. But this does not feel like destruction for the sake of pain. It feels like divine interruption. The kind that breaks stagnation because your soul has outgrown its container. I'm also getting that for some of you, tonight may not look dramatic on the outside at first. That is important because the change can begin internally and still be massive, a decision in your spirit. A sudden knowing, a loss of fear, a refusal to keep shrinking. The moment you stop tolerating what your deeper self knows is misaligned, your life begins changing right there. So Spirit keeps saying, do not underestimate the power of one internal shift. One clear moment can rearrange an entire future. Then we have the Ace of Wands. And this is beautiful because it tells me that what follows the shock is ignition, fire, desire. Forward motion, a new opening that actually feels alive. So this is not only about something ending, it is also about your energy returning, your spark returning, your courage returning. For many of you, the massive change coming is tied to reclaiming yourself, reclaiming your voice, reclaiming your choice, reclaiming your right to move toward what excites you instead of what merely keeps you safe. And I have to say, your life is about to speed up after a period of unnatural slowness. I'm seeing the Eight of Wands, and it tells me messages, movement, opportunities, realizations, and shifts in direction may begin happening faster than you expected. Things that felt blocked may suddenly start flowing. Things that felt uncertain may suddenly become obvious. It is like the energy around you has been gathering, and tonight becomes one of those ignition points where everything starts responding. Now, the card around you here is the Queen of Wands, and I love that because it tells me the person emerging through this is stronger, brighter, bolder, and much less willing to dim herself or himself for the comfort of others. This change is not random. It is calling you back into your own power, back into visibility, back into confidence, back into the truth of who you are when fear is no longer running the whole show. I'm also seeing the moon in reverse, and that is strong confirmation that confusion is lifting. Secrets lift, fog lifts, emotional distortion lifts. So one of the shocking things about tonight may simply be how clear something suddenly becomes. What once felt mixed may feel obvious. What once felt hidden may reveal itself. And with that clarity, trapped energy gets released. The final card I'm seeing here is Judgment. And wow, this is the wake-up call, the soul call, the rising, the moment where you can no longer sleep through your own becoming. So the message in this first part is tonight marks a turning point. Fate is moving, truth is interrupting, stagnation is breaking. And whether the change begins outwardly, inwardly, or both at once, your life is entering a chapter that will not let you remain small, stuck, or asleep anymore. And for some of you, this is the night your fear stops sounding like wisdom, and your soul finally says, enough at last. Out of nowhere, I keep getting the feeling of a door unlocking from the inside, not somebody else saving you, not the universe handing you a life without your participation. This feels like a powerful inner click, a moment where something in you decides, I cannot keep living the old way. And once that inner decision is made, the outer world begins responding much faster than you think. The first card I'm seeing here is the Chariot, and wow, this is serious movement, determination, direction, momentum after delay. So if you have felt like your life has been dragging, circling, stalling, or waiting on a sign that never seemed to come, Spirit is saying that season is breaking. The Chariot does not sit still for long. It chooses, it commits, it moves. And what feels life-changing here is that you are no longer being asked to drift. You are being called to take the reins of your life in a stronger way than before. I'm also getting that tonight may bring a confrontation with your own truth, not necessarily a fight. More like a crystal clear encounter with what you know deep down, what you really want, what you really cannot keep carrying. What you are genuinely ready for now. And that is why the next card showing up is the Two of Swords in reverse. The stalemate is ending. The indecision is ending. The refusal to look directly at something is ending. It is like your spirit is pulling the blindfold off and saying, see it clearly now. For some of you, the shocking change is not that a brand new dream appears. It is that you finally stop betraying the dream that has been living inside you all along. That is powerful because many people think life changes only when outer circumstances explode. But Spirit keeps showing me that massive change often begins the second you stop negotiating against your own knowing. Then I'm seeing the Death card, and yes, that is major. This is not a light upgrade. This is a real ending, a shedding. An old identity losing its grip, a pattern, attachment, fear, role, or emotional dependency coming to its final edge. And because death is here with the Chariot, I feel like this ending is not meant to leave you empty. It is meant to free up huge amounts of life force. Energy has been trapped in what is over. The moment you release it, you move. I'm also picking up a very strong message around your environment. Some of you are about to outgrow places, routines, conversations, and even certain relationships that were only able to hold the older version of you. That may feel emotional at first. I do not want to pretend otherwise. But the next card I'm seeing is the Six of Swords, and it tells me the movement is toward peace, toward calmer waters, toward a clearer future. So even if tonight carries emotion, it is not pointless pain. It is transition, sacred transition. Now, the card around you here is the Magician, and that is amazing because it says your power is coming back online. Your ability to choose, create, initiate, and direct energy is waking up again. The massive change coming is not only something happening to you, it is something awakening through you. And that is why this reading feels so different from ordinary change. This is a personal activation, a turning on of dormant energy, a remembering of capability. I'm also seeing the Hermit in reverse, and I feel this means isolation is ending in some way. Maybe spiritual isolation, maybe emotional withdrawal, maybe the season where you felt cut off from momentum, certainty, or connection. Spirit is saying you are not meant to stay hidden forever. Whatever this next chapter is, it draws you out of fear, out of delay. Out of holding yourself back while waiting for perfect timing. The timing is changing because you are changing. The final card I'm seeing here is the Sun. And that is a beautiful confirmation because after the release, after the decision, after the movement comes illumination. Joy, openness, a stronger sense of self. So the biggest message in this second part is this. Tonight begins a powerful end to indecision, stagnation, and self-betrayal. You are moving out of what is over and into what is finally honest. The path ahead may ask courage from you, but it is leading toward light, not confusion. And that is why Spirit keeps saying this is not just a dramatic night. It is a liberating one. I keep hearing something strongly. Do not panic if the sign of change feels like a disruption. Some breakthroughs arrive dressed like inconvenience before they reveal themselves as blessing. A canceled plan, a truth you cannot unhear, a sudden urge to leave behind what once felt familiar. Trust what opens after the shock. Trust what becomes lighter once false weight drops. Your life is not falling apart here. It is rearranging itself around the version of you that is finally ready to live it fully. Now, I keep seeing a lightning strike in the middle of a quiet room. That is the feeling. Something has looked still on the outside, maybe even normal, but underneath it, pressure has been building for a long time. And tonight feels like the moment that pressure finally finds its release, not to ruin you, not to punish you, but to wake everything up at once. The first card I'm seeing here is the Tower, and yes, it is back, but this time it feels even more personal because now I'm getting that the shocking change may involve something you once believed was stable, a belief, a plan, a connection, a version of yourself, something that has been standing in your life like it had permanent permission to stay. Spirit is saying, not anymore. What cannot grow with you cannot go with you, and I know that message is intense. But the next card is the Star, and that changes everything. Because the Star says what breaks open now is making room for healing, direction, hope, and a more honest future. So if something cracks tonight, a habit, an illusion, a pattern, a relationship dynamic, a false attachment, it is not cracking to destroy your path, it is cracking to reveal it. I'm also seeing a strong message around truth arriving very suddenly. The Ace of Swords is here, and this tells me that one of the massive changes may be mental clarity, a thought lands, a realization lands, a sentence lands. A truth you have been circling around suddenly becomes impossible to deny. For some of you, this may come through a conversation. For others, it may come through your own spirit when everything gets quiet enough for the truth to speak. Either way, once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Then we have the Seven of Cups in reverse. And wow, that is powerful because confusion is collapsing, fantasy is collapsing, mixed signals, emotional fog, and endless what-if-s are beginning to lose their hold. If you have been stuck between possibilities, stories, hopes, fears, and interpretations, tonight may be the moment where all that scattered energy condenses into one clear knowing, and that kind of clarity changes lives. I also feel that some of you are about to outgrow a dream you once thought you needed. That is a deep message because sometimes massive change does not only come through getting what you wanted, sometimes it comes through realizing you have become too large for what you once begged for. I'm seeing the Nine of Pentacles around you, and this says your sense of self is maturing. Your standards are maturing. Your relationship with your own worth is maturing. You are not the same person you were when you first settled for less. Now I'm seeing the Fool. And that makes me smile because it tells me that after this shock comes freedom, real freedom, not reckless freedom. Soul freedom, the kind where you stop dragging the dead weight of old fear behind every new beginning, the kind where you say yes to your life without needing every answer in advance. So for many of you, tonight is less about one event and more about a doorway you become willing to step. And once you step, the future opens. The card around your emotional energy is the Four of Pentacles in reverse. So yes, this is a letting go night, releasing control, releasing old scarcity, releasing the tight grip you may have kept on something because you were afraid of what would happen without it. Spirit keeps saying that what is leaving is not your security. What is leaving is the illusion that holding tighter keeps you safe. It does not. It keeps you stuck. Then we have the Wheel of Fortune again, and this is the confirmation that the movement is bigger than one little circumstance. This is timeline energy, destiny energy, the sense that life is reorganizing itself at a deeper level now. So if things start changing quickly after tonight, if one decision leads to another, if one truth opens many others, if one ending becomes the gateway to a completely new chapter, do not be surprised. The wheel is moving with force now. The final card I'm seeing here is Strength, and that is beautiful because it tells me you are stronger than the shock, stronger than the transition, stronger than the story fear tells you about change. So the message in this third part is this. Tonight brings a truth, release, or disruption that clears illusion and sets your life back into honest motion. What changes may be surprising, but it is deeply aligned, and the version of you emerging from it is more awake, more free, and far more powerful than the one who walked into this night. That is why Spirit keeps repeating this over and over. Do not cling to the room once the door has opened. The room was never your destiny. The opening is trust the opening, even if your voice shakes. because this next chapter already knows your name. And then there is this feeling of the air changing all at once, like a room that has been heavy for too long suddenly gets a window thrown open. That is what this part feels like. Not only a shock, but a release. Not only an ending, but a rush of fresh energy moving in right behind it. So if the earlier parts felt like pressure building, this feels like motion finally taking over. The first card I'm seeing here is the Eight of Cups, and this tells me one of the biggest changes happening tonight is emotional departure. Walking away, turning your back on something that once held a lot of emotional weight. But what I love here is that this does not feel weak, confused, or impulsive. It feels sacred, it feels overdue. It feels like your spirit finally admitting, I cannot keep pouring my life into something that no longer feeds my soul. For some of you, this may be a person. For others, a role. For others, a dream that kept you trapped because it belonged to an older version of you. And Spirit keeps saying that what you are leaving is not everything. It only felt like everything because you stayed with it for so long. Then right beside that, I'm seeing the Page of Wands, and wow, this is the spark after the release. Curiosity returning, excitement returning. That little inner flame that says maybe life can surprise me in a good way after all. So yes, the shocking change may involve walking away from one chapter, but almost immediately there is a new signal, a new urge, a new possibility trying to reach you. This is not empty space, this is opening space. I'm also getting a very strong message about your voice. The Queen of Swords is here, and I feel tonight may shift the way you speak, the way you decide, and the way you hold your boundaries. Some of you are done explaining yourselves, done softening truths that need to be said clearly, done acting uncertain when your soul has already made up its mind. That is life-changing because your words shape your path. And once your voice aligns with your deeper truth, your reality starts reorganizing quickly. The next card I'm seeing is the Six of Wands. And this is powerful because it shows victory after transition, recognition after courage. So I do feel that something about this upcoming change actually puts you in a more visible, more confident, more empowered position than before. You may not see that in the first emotional moment, but Spirit is showing me that the path ahead contains affirmation, momentum, proof that leaving what was misaligned was the right thing. Now the card around your hidden energy is the High Priestess, and that tells me you have known this was coming. Maybe not with full details, maybe not with total certainty, but on some level your intuition has been whispering for a while. That is why tonight feels so important. It is not random chaos. It is inner knowing becoming outer reality. The whisper becomes the event. The feeling becomes the shift. The truth you sensed begins to take form in the world. I'm also seeing the Five of Pentacles in reverse. And that is beautiful because it tells me recovery is part of the change. Coming out of lack, coming out of emotional coldness, coming out of the feeling that support, hope, or warmth were too far away. So if this night begins with disruption, it does not end there. It moves you toward reconnection, help, open doors. A way forward that does not leave you stranded in the dark. Then we have the Magician again, and that is such a strong sign that your life changes tonight because your will changes tonight, your energy changes tonight, your willingness to direct your future changes tonight. You stop waiting for permission, you stop waiting for certainty, you stop waiting for the old chapter to become something it was never meant to become. And in that moment, you become available for a much more aligned reality. The final card I'm seeing here is the Ten of Cups. And that is the promise beyond the shock, emotional fulfillment. Real joy, a life that feels more whole, more honest, more emotionally nourishing than what you are leaving behind. So the biggest message for this fourth part is this. Tonight marks an emotional departure that opens the door to renewed spark, stronger boundaries, visible progress, and a much warmer future. What changes may feel sudden, but it is leading you towards something your heart can actually live inside peacefully. And Spirit keeps saying one more thing very clearly. Do not call it lost too quickly. Some of the biggest blessings first arrive wearing the face of an exit. What leaves tonight may have been blocking the very life you've been praying for. So let the exit be holy. Let the truth be sharp. Let the movement begin. You are not being emptied out here. You are being redirected into joy. Your tomorrow will not resemble today. Judgment card. And wow, this is the call, the awakening, the return to yourself. So what feels massive tonight is not only that circumstances may shift, it is that you are hearing yourself differently. The voice of your own spirit gets louder than the voice of fear, louder than the voice of delay, louder than the excuses that once sounded reasonable. And once that happens, your life cannot keep orbiting the same old patterns. Judgment says this is the moment where your future starts asking for your full participation. Then right beside that, I'm seeing the devil in reverse. And that is huge because it tells me bondage is breaking. A grip is loosening. This could be fear, addiction to old pain, attachment to chaos, emotional dependence, a control pattern, a person, or even a belief that kept you feeling smaller than you really are. Spirit is saying something is losing power over you tonight. Something that once felt difficult to escape is no longer holding you with the same force. And the shocking part may be how quickly your energy changes once that cord starts snapping. I'm also seeing the Two of Pentacles in reverse, and that tells me the juggling ends here. The trying to keep everything going, the over-accommodating, the constant balancing act that has left your nervous system tired. Some of you have been holding too much for too long. Too many possibilities, too many emotional weights, too many half decisions. Tonight feels like the point where you stop trying to manage what was never sustainable. You choose, you simplify, you release the performance of holding it all together, and finally honor what is actually true. The next card I'm seeing is the Ace of Pentacles, and I love this because it says the change is not only emotional or spiritual, it wants form, real form, a concrete beginning, a tangible offer from life. So yes, there may be a shocking ending or realization, but there's also a seed here. A new path, new opening, new job, new plan, new commitment to yourself, new standard, new place to stand. Something solid begins trying to root in the very space where old confusion once lived. This is one reason the change feels forever marking. It is not just a lesson, it is a doorway into material reality. Now the card around you here is the Empress, and this is beautiful. Because it shows the version of you emerging through tonight is no longer willing to starve where you were meant to flourish. You are becoming more receptive to real abundance, real peace, real softness, real support, not fantasy support, not crumbs, real nourishment. Spirit keeps showing me that one reason life changes now is because your standards are changing now. You are no longer impressed by what only drains you. You want what grows you. I'm also seeing the Knight of Wands, and this tells me movement may feel fast after the turning point. Once you get the message, once you make the choice, once you release the chain, the energy may surge. You may suddenly want to go act, tell the truth, begin, leave, apply, speak, create, or change direction quickly. Trust that fire. This is not random recklessness. It feels like life force returning after suppression. It feels like your spirit remembering how to move again. Then we have the Four of Cups in reverse. And that is powerful because it says numbness is ending. Emotional stagnation is ending. The season where you felt disconnected from hope, desire, or possibility is ending. You begin to see what has been right in front of you. You begin to feel what was trying to reach you all along. So for some of you, the massive change is a return of appetite for life itself, a return of willingness, a return of interest in your own future. And the card I'm seeing here is the World, and that is an extraordinary confirmation because it tells me a cycle is not merely fading. It is closing, completing, sealing. The old chapter does not get endless extensions anymore. Spirit is putting a ring around it, an ending with meaning, an ending with consequence, an ending that creates room for a much more expanded life. Tonite changes your life forever because a spiritual wake-up call breaks an old grip, ends an unsustainable pattern, and opens a real, tangible new beginning. You stop negotiating with what weakens you. You stop balancing what was already collapsing. You step out of old bondage and into a future that can finally hold your growth. This is not a temporary mood. This is a cycle closing at the root. And Spirit keeps whispering one final thing here when the chain falls. Do not pick it back up out of habit. Let freedom feel unfamiliar for a minute. Let ease feel strange if it has to. But do not confuse unfamiliar peace with danger. Your next life begins where your old captivity ends. That is why this night matters. That is why this shift is so enormous. And that is why your soul already knows. There is no going back after this now. And here, at the final part of this reading, the energy feels less like a warning and more like a landing, like the storm has already broken something open. And now the truth is arriving to take its place. That is what tonight feels like. Not just the shock of change, but the moment after the shock when your spirit realizes it is still standing, and maybe standing more honestly than it has in a very long time. The first card I'm seeing here is the Sun. And wow, this is the promise after the upheaval illumination. Warmth, life returning to your body. So whatever changes tonight, whatever truth arrives, whatever ending comes, whatever decision gets made, Spirit is making it very clear that this is leading you toward greater aliveness, not less toward clarity, not confusion, toward a future that has room for your joy in it. Again, then right beside that, I'm seeing the Ten of Wands in reverse. And this is huge because it tells me that one of the most massive changes coming is that you are no longer meant to carry what never belonged to you in the first place. Extra burdens, emotional weight, false responsibility. The exhausting habit of trying to keep everything functioning while your own soul goes ignored. Tonight feels like a dropping point, a release point. A sacred moment where your life starts getting lighter because you stop volunteering to carry what is already over. I'm also seeing the Lovers, and this does not only speak about romance here, it speaks about alignment, a deep inner choice, the moment where your actions begin matching your truth. So for many of you, the forever change tonight is that you stop splitting yourself in two. Stop saying one thing and wanting another. Stop knowing the truth inside while living the opposite outside. The split closes, the choice becomes real. And once your energy becomes unified like that, the whole universe starts responding differently to you. The next card is the Six of Pentacles. And I love this because it says balance is returning. Support is returning. Reciprocity is returning. The life that is opening after tonight is not meant to feel like constant struggle and overgiving. It is meant to meet you, to answer you, to give back where you have been emptying out. So if you have felt like you have been doing all the work alone for too long, Spirit is saying the next chapter has a different texture, more mutuality, more nourishment, more visible help. Now, the card around you here is Strength, and this is beautiful because it says you are not being changed by force. You are being revealed through pressure. The strong part of you is always there. The honest part of you is always there. The brave part of you is always there. But tonight may be the night that version of you steps forward fully, without apology, not loud for the sake of performance, just real rooted, unwilling to abandon itself any longer. I'm also seeing the Star again, and that is a powerful confirmation that healing is not separate from the change. Healing is the change. Hope returning is the change. A new sense of future is the change. Some of you are about to realize that what felt like devastation was actually divine redirection. What felt like delay was sacred protection. What felt like loss was life making room for what can truly hold you now. Then we have the Ace of Cups, and this is the opening of the heart after the closure of an old wound. Not necessarily all at once, not perfectly, but genuinely your life changes forever tonight because your heart is no longer moving toward the same destinations. You are not available for the same pain loops. You are not attracted to the same emptiness. You are not willing to call suffering normal anymore. That alone changes timelines. The final card I'm seeing here is the World, and that is the great confirmation. A cycle ends completely. A lesson completes. A chapter closes with meaning. So the message for this final part is this. Tonight is the crossing point. The burden drops, the truth lands, the alignment becomes real. And what comes next is not a return to the old life with a few adjustments. It is a genuinely new chapter with a different frequency, a different standard, and a different future waiting for you. So breathe through whatever shifts. Do not rush to call it chaos. Do not panic if the old story cannot follow you where you are going. Some endings are not punishments, they are permissions. Spirit keeps repeating one last thing: trust what brings you back to yourself. The path ahead may be unfamiliar, but it is not wrong, it is simply new. And the life opening now has your name written all over it. That is why this moment matters. And tonight, your life is receiving permission to become what it was always trying to become, to take its place. That is what tonight feels like. Not just the shock of change, but the moment after the shock when your spirit realizes it is still standing, and maybe standing more honestly than it has in a very long time. The first card I'm seeing here is the Sun. And wow, this is the promise after the upheaval illumination. Warmth, life returning to your body. So whatever changes tonight, whatever truth arrives, whatever ending comes, whatever decision gets made,